Okay, good evening, folks. This is as strange a thing for me as it is for you to be in this different type of meeting where we used to VC Learn and now we're doing our meetings in Teams. I just want a confirmation that you guys can hear me, Isabella or Kevin. If one of you can just give me a thumbs up or open your mic and say, how's it, or something like that.
Hi, sir. I can hear you.
Okay, great stuff. Thank you so much. Okay, and then the other thing
sir,
is
I can also hear you.
Great, thanks, Kevin. Just tell me, can you see my slides?
Yeah, I can see it, sir. Thank you.
Okay, great stuff. I just want to make sure, because this is a bit strange. I see from my video or from my camera that the sun is catching me at a very strange angle. I'm sorry about that. It'll take a couple of minutes before the sun disappears. But in any case, I've got a face for radio, so the camera isn't my best thing. Okay, so this is Entrepreneurship 3A, ENTP7311w. My name is on there, Karel Marais, and my email address is below that, kamarais@varsity college.co.za. I would ask that you take a note of my email address. Please feel free to drop me an email at any time if you're struggling and you're not sure about anything. I tend to react quite quickly. Weekends take a bit longer. After hours take a bit longer. If I've not responded to your email during the week within 24 hours, please send me another email saying to me, why have you not responded? I've sent you an email. I want a response, please. And don't feel bad about doing that. It's part of my job to respond to you. So if I haven't responded, say to me, I'm a head of school at the Cape Town campus, and I get lots of emails. So it could happen that I missed your email. Please just 24 hours, say to me, come on, Karel, what's going on? Why haven't you responded to me? Sometimes my response to you will be, when you send me an initial email, I don't know, I'm going to find out, but I'll always respond when I get an email from you. Please just make sure that if you do send me an email, in the subject line, that you put ENTP7311w in there, because I get lots of emails from students that say, Karel, I'm having a struggle to access my notes. And then I'm sort of, are you a lecturer? Which class am I a lecturer for? What's going on? So yeah, just let me know if there's so that I know which class you're in. For this session, I'm going to give you an overview of the program. I'm going to let you know what's happening, how it's happening, and so on, and then we're going to do the first chunk of work. So firstly, your prescribed text is Neck, and Murray, Entrepreneurship, the Practice and the Mindset. It's the second international edition. Make sure you get that one. There are numerous editions of this textbook, versions, editions, etc. of the textbook. They are similar, but they're not all exactly the same. I have seen a couple of different versions. The content is, yeah, as I say, sort of similar, but they're not exactly the same. They are also for Learning Unit 7. That's not in the textbook. There are a number of academic articles. I think it's about 4. Yeah, it's 4. That I'll load onto ARC in due course. When we get there, it's still a while, but I will upload those for you so that you've got access to them. There's also a thing that's called the pitch deck, which is included. Romy, sorry, I just saw your message now. No, I don't have the link handy, and I'm doubt if I'm going to be able to get access. Can you have a look at the email I sent earlier? Okay, give me a moment. I want to see if I can find the email quickly. I might be able to access the email quicker than you can, and then I'll give you a link. Sorry, just give me a second. Okay, I can't find the link to it from where I am now. The only way I'm going to be able to get to the link is, let me have a check. And just see something quickly, something else here. No, it's not there. It might be there. So I did send you guys an email specifically with a link, but there is the link again. If you can send that link out to the other students, that link is a permalink. If you go into ARC and you scroll down to the bottom of ARC on the subject, the link is also there. And that's a permalink. So in other words, that link that I've just posted in the chat, I'm not sure if you're listening to the recording, if you will be able to see the chat, but that link is also available on an email that I sent you on Monday morning. So you should be able to get to that link from the email as well. And that link remains the same link for every time we've got a class. The links don't change. So you just click on that link, you'll always come to the same room. Okay, back to what we're dealing with. Neck and Murray, I've spoken about that. The Neck and Murray is not a cheap textbook. However, you will also use that textbook in the second semester for the entrepreneurship 7.3, I think it's 2.1 or 3B. So you do use it for the whole year. Okay, you have the module outcomes on the screen. This is the overall outcome that we're trying to look at, what you are supposed to get to by the end of the course. You should go through that. There's three key module outcomes. But then you also need to look at the unit outcomes for each individual unit that we're going to deal with. Because it's important that you understand whether you meet the unit's outcomes or not. There's the assessments. We've got part 1, part 2, and a POE. So all of these are assessments, but there's tricks to these assessments. None of them are standard assessments. They are things like you have to make a video clip and do a presentation and all types of things like that. The POE, if I remember correctly, also has a separate video presentation that you have to do. Don't worry too much about what the POE, what the part 1 and the part 2 and the POE is about at this stage. I will, closer to the time, do a specific session where I only deal with part 1, and I'll tell you exactly what to do, how to approach it, the whole thing. So you don't have to worry too much about what's going on there at this stage. You will get the opportunity to ask me questions about it and see what needs to happen and what do you have to do and all the rest of it. So just be aware of it, 25, 30, and 35%. I will tell you now that the questions are not difficult. However, they are long. All three of those parts are quite long and they take a while to complete. It's not something that you'll be able to do just overnight. I know most of you are working adults, and therefore I'm warning you now, do not plan to say, I'll sit down the evening before it's due and quickly do it, because it's not going to work out that way for you. They are thankfully still quite far in the future. You'll see 3rd of April and 25th of April are the 2 dates. Those 2 dates are not too far apart, and we're going to have a tough time for me to give you feedback before part 2 is due, or before you need to start with part 2, but I'll do my utmost best. So we towards the second half of Feb, so we have the whole of March, and then on the 3rd of April you hand in. I will probably early next week on ARC upload a a time planner for you. So what I do is I lay out the semester week for week, telling you what you have to do in each week. Yeah, Kevin, that's true. Time does fly. I can't believe that we already more than halfway through the second month of the year. And you must remember, I'm probably slightly older than most of you, so it flies faster for me than most. So the other thing that I need to say to you, those dates are the dates as I saw them today on the PAS. We all know PAS dates change, so you need to be aware of that. No, Isabella, so this subject is one of those funny ones. There aren't assignments. There's one POE document. I have actually downloaded it. So if I can see it on my side, you should be able to see it on your side. So there's only one document, and that sort of talks to part 1, it talks to part 2, and it talks to the POE itself. But as I say, yeah, download it. You can start looking at it. I will when I see you guys in 2 weeks' time, I'll also start talking about it, because you need to start thinking about it. As I recall, and I want to make sure I've downloaded it, I haven't read it. You need to come up with an app, if I'm correct. You're not going to do the app, you're not going to make the app, but an idea for an app that addresses a social issue. That's all I'm going to say about it now, but I'll speak more to it in the next session that we have. I'll start talking to it, and the session after that, I'll actually speak to it and it only, or I might decide to do that in a recording rather, depending on where we are. But yeah, there's a app, and you've got to make a video clip about how your app will work and what you can do, but you don't have to make the app. It's not programming. And then you will also have to answer certain questions around it and so on. So there's a video clip of, I think it's 7 minutes or something, and then there's the written part, which is another 4 or 5 questions you have to answer. But I'm not going to look at that right now. We'll deal with that in future sessions. Okay, are there any questions on the introduction or the layout of the course or how this works? If you are, just before that question comes up, if you're currently struggling with ARC and you're a bit confused about ARC, as most of us are, because it's a new system, so and we've got sympathy and we understand. I sent out an email probably about a half an hour or so ago that where you can go look, and it gives you a link, and that'll train you in ARC. When we do this session on the POE managers, could you get a PDF version, because the Word documents sometimes are Word to open? Yeah, I'll see if I can. I should be okay. I should be able to get a Word version for you. However, there are a PDF version for you. There are severe restrictions on those documents, and sometimes even us can't edit them and we can't convert them. If I can convert it, I will convert it for you, and I'll email that out to you. If I can't, I can't. I'll do what I can do, but they've put a bunch of restrictions on those documents because, quite frankly, students upload these things onto all types of interesting websites, and they're trying to stop that. So that's part of the problem. So I'll do what I can, but I'm not making any promises at this stage. But if I can, I will change it, and I'll share that with you. Okay, any other questions that you need to know? Anything else you want to know about the course before we start to do a little bit of work? Okay, so in this first section, I am unfortunately going to burst a couple of bubbles. There is work that you've been taught, and it's a strange way how this course is laid out. You've been taught certain things about entrepreneurship up to this point, and I'm going to burst a couple of those bubbles this evening. So there's the Learning Unit 1 outcomes. Please, 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 when you're busy studying at home, when you're reading through the work, when you're listening to the recordings I've made, look at those learning outcomes and make sure you understand what those learning outcomes mean, and that you can answer questions on them, because those are the things that are going to come up when you're busy doing the working on the various the first hand, in the second hand, and the POE itself, and you will need to be able to then answer those questions. And if you don't understand them, it's difficult when you're busy writing part of an assignment to then suddenly have to say, oh, hell, I better go study this, I better go study that. If you follow the pacer that I'll send out, as I say, probably sometime early next week, you'll be fine, and you'll have worked through all of this, but you just need to stick with it. As I said earlier, the assignments are not difficult, they're just very, very long. Okay, so entrepreneurship, there's a couple of methods that we use in entrepreneurship. And the four key things is thinking, acting, identifying opportunities, and approaching problems. Those are big, high-level things that we do in entrepreneurship. And basically, you shouldn't see entrepreneurship as anything else than a vehicle for developing a set of skills. In other words, entrepreneurship as such is never finished, right? It is an ongoing process where you're going to continue learning all the time. You guys have got a big advantage on, and I'm going to put this in inverted commas, normal entrepreneurs. So many entrepreneurs embark on the entrepreneurship journey, but they don't actually have any training or any background, so they just try to do this stuff. And they get burnt quite a lot and quite easy because they haven't got the background that you guys have. So you guys are lucky. Sorry, it's flipping a switch. You guys are lucky because you doing this BCom, it gives you a lot of background. But don't be place yourself in a position where you think, I now know entrepreneurship, so I can go out and go do this entrepreneurial journey of mine because I know everything. It is an ongoing process in which you're going to learn and be taught by the School of Hard Knocks a lot of things as you progress in this journey. So there may be some things that are slightly different to what you expect in terms of what entrepreneurship is about. I think I just want to skip. I just want to make sure. Yeah, there we go. These are better slides. There was some confusion with the slides earlier, and I thought I'd got it sorted out, but I obviously haven't. So, entrepreneurship is not reserved for startups. It's not just startups. Startups, as a matter of fact, in the context of Neck and Murray, your prescribed books, they define startups as only the part of the journey where you initiate an idea, where you get to the point where you can scale this idea. Then a startup stops. When you actually start the actual journey with the organization, it's not a startup anymore. It's an entrepreneurial venture. So don't fall into that trap of saying it's just startups. I always have a long debate, especially with my first year students, about entrepreneurships and that, are you born or are you made or are you trained as an entrepreneur? There's no special set of entrepreneurs. If you take a guy like Bill Gates, for example, he's got a specific set of skills. Donald Trump, who's also he's given up a bit on being an entrepreneur, but he has a completely different set of skills. But he was also a great entrepreneur, right? If you go look at a guy like Richard Branson, completely different set of skills, completely different personality. All of these guys are great entrepreneurs or were at a stage great entrepreneurs. But what you can be sure about is entrepreneurship can be taught. So it's not like you're born with a golden spoon in your mouth and therefore you can do this thing called entrepreneurship. No, entrepreneurship can be taught. Skills can be taught. And you are on a journey where you are being taught some of these skills. And why I say some of these skills is because we can't teach you everything. There's too many things. And that is why I said earlier, you will learn as you continue on your journey as an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are not extreme risk takers. So you always need to qualify the fact that entrepreneurs take risks. I mean, we can't take that away from it. Entrepreneurial journeys are risky journeys, but it's a calculated risk. The entrepreneur looks at what are they prepared to lose, and if what they want to do will not cost them more than what they're prepared to lose, they will take the risk. But if you like extreme risks, then entrepreneurship's not for you. Go to the casino. Take your stack of money, put it on black, and let them spin the wheel, and let's see if you make money or not. So it's not a gamble. It's a calculated risk that entrepreneurs take. So we also have this idea that it's a highly competitive environment. It's not. It's actually a more collaborative environment than it is a competitive environment. If you go back to Bill Gates, for example, and you go look at where Bill Gates started and where Apple started, they actually collaborated quite closely together very early on, because the one needed the other one. And to this day, it is like that. There are great organizations out there even that foster this entrepreneurship. If you haven't heard of any of these organizations, go look at an organization such as BNI, Business Network International. That's BNI, Business Network International. You'll Google that, you'll find their website. And that's an organization that's specifically set up for entrepreneurs to collaborate. So, for example, in a previous life, I owned a green paint factory. We didn't just make green paint, an environmentally friendly paint manufacturer. And I was part of BNI at the time. And there I had a collaborative environment where I worked with handymen, I worked with painters, I worked with builders, I worked with interior decorators, all people that I could refer people to them and they could refer people to me. And in some cases, we even developed products together. There was a guy that wanted a product. He had a client who had a zinc roof on the house, a tin roof, and that the house was getting very, very hot. And he wanted paint that they could paint on the outside of this house to cool the house down. And we developed one of the first, the first environmentally friendly heat reducing paint, and one of the first heat reducing paints in South Africa, because we could collaborate on it. He could go out and test it, come back, give me more information. I could then change the formulation of the paint. He went out and tested it again, and in that way we collaborated. And it's something I could probably have done on my own, but then I would never have had the exposure of real world testing. So he was on his entrepreneurial journey, I was on mine, but we could find a good way to collaborate, and we could both make money and profit out of it. The sixth truth is one that we're going to deal with quite a bit. Entrepreneurs act more than they plan. And we'll go into detail on that specific one. So I'm not going to say much about that. And the truth is, entrepreneurship is a life skill. Once you know entrepreneurship and you understand what entrepreneurship is about, it's a skill for life. You have that skill and you're able to apply that skill, and you're able to do what you need to do with that skill. Okay. We sort of looked at what the truth is about entrepreneurship. Let's look at the types of entrepreneurship. So they list 6 or 7 types in the textbook. Corporate entrepreneurship. Does anybody know what corporate entrepreneurship is? Can you give you a definition of corporate entrepreneurship? You can type, or you can open your mic and just tell me. Lee, go for it. Don't even put your hand up. Just go for it. Open the mic and speak.
So I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure corporate entrepreneurship is when you open a business under a corporate company, or open division within a business.
Okay. So yes, that's correct. So companies go and they some companies want entrepreneurship, so they encourage entrepreneurship. And what they'll then do is they'll start a product and they will then spin that product out and start a separate company. And that separate company will then run with the entrepreneurial venture. So it'll start with the company, but it'll go outside of the company. In contrast, and I'm going to give you an example of that now, but I first want to deal with entrepreneurship inside. In contrast to that, that is an active activity that the company does. In contrast to that, entrepreneurship inside is simply people thinking entrepreneurially within organizations. And it's normally on a smaller scale than corporate entrepreneurship. Corporate entrepreneurship is driven by the organization. Now, sometimes entrepreneurship inside goes over into corporate entrepreneurship. And one of my favorite examples of this is yes, Kevin, I see your answer there. That's 100% correct. Is 3M. So Post-it notes was developed by the company called 3M. And what actually happened was they had guys looking for a glue that they could develop to stick paper into, say, textbooks or something, but where you could pull the thing you had stuck on, pull it off to remove it without tearing the page. So they were looking for call it a temporary glue. And in these experiments, one of the guys working in the lab used the test things, and he would write himself a note, and he would put the glue on the back, and he'd stick the note these notes up next to his desk. And one of the other guys came around and said, what are all these things? And he explained it. And this guy said, but hang on, there's a product in this. And that's how your sticky notes, you know those sticky notes that you have? So that's how those were originated. They were originated by 3M. If you take your packet of sticky notes lying in your desk, you flip it around, on the back, you'll probably see the 3M logo. So that was almost an entrepreneurship inside that had then gone over and had grown and become a corporate entrepreneurship, and they'd spun the company out and Post-it they run as a separate entity within the bigger business. Franchising, we know, it's when you use the name of a large corporate. There's a franchisor who's the owner of the big picture, and he has franchisees under them, and these franchisees, they run their own business. So the franchisee, she will make her own decisions. She will decide how she wants to promote her business, but it will be under the authority of the franchisor who owns the national or even the international franchise. Now, let me immediately say, if you cast your mind back, way back when to first year, in first year, we teach you that franchising is not entrepreneurship. Yeah, they've changed their mind and decided it is entrepreneurship. To me, the jury's still a bit out about that. Another way of going along the entrepreneurial journey is simply buying a small business, right? So going out and saying, okay, I buy a business and I'm now going to run the business as the owner of this business. But, and this is a very big but, it is only entrepreneurial if you're trying to expand and grow the business. The definition between a small business owner and an entrepreneur is a small business owner has a business which they run, they're happy, they're making enough money, and that's it. They've bought the house, the holiday house, they've got the boat, they've got the fancy car, and they're happy. They draw a salary every month, right? An entrepreneur takes their small business and they're always looking, how do I expand this business? How do I grow it? How do I open a second branch? How do I have another part in this business? So I have got a landscaping business, for example. How do I now have a business that services the gardens that I've landscaped, and I run a garden service as well? How do I do that? So they're always looking for opportunities to expand and grow the business, and that's the difference between a small business and an entrepreneurial business. Social entrepreneurship. Any idea what social entrepreneurship is? And once again, just open your mic and speak if you want to, or you can type. Take a guess. Perfect, Isabella. Yes, Kevin. Solving social problems and having a positive impact on society. Entrepreneurship focus on improving social aspects within society. Yes, all of those are correct. Yeah, she's obviously faster than you are. Yes, rather than they do make a profit, right? Let's get that straight. They do make a profit, but the primary motivation is not to make the profit. The primary motivation is to do something that is a social good. Your POE addresses this issue. The app that I said earlier that you're going to look at, what type of app, will be in the social entrepreneurship area to see how you can improve certain things, but don't worry about that now. Family enterprising is your family business, where the family runs a business. The whole family or the most of the family is involved in it, and it's generational. It's hands from one generation to the next generation to the next generation. And then the last form is serial entrepreneurship, which is, some people will describe it as true entrepreneurship. A friend of mine is a serial entrepreneur. He started his journey in entrepreneurship buying and selling tropical fish. Small. He used to travel from pet shop to pet shop. He'd lost his job, and he was a fish keeper at the time. He kept tropical fish, and he knew his fish really well. So he would go from pet shop to pet shop and buy fish in one pet shop, which they'd mislabeled, or they didn't know what it was really worth, and he'd sell it at the next pet shop. And believe it or not, he actually made money that way. Later on, he ended up buying and selling second-hand car tires. Right? So he'd sell used tires, and he'd sell tires to people that did retreading. After that, he went back to the fish, and he actually started a chain of pet shops. He sold the chain of pet shops. Well, actually, he was still busy with the chain of pet shops, and he bought his first house that he converted in Pretoria into he bought a big old house in Pretoria, converted it into 3 living units, and rented out the 3 living units. Then ended up selling the pet shops and concentrating on that business. That business is still being run. As far as I know, the kids run it now. And at the moment, his current venture is busy. He's cloning plants. So he's taking rare plants, cloning them, growing out and selling them. It's not a jack of all trades, Kevin, as much as it is going into a business, building the business up, and either then keeping the business and running it as a profitable business, and then seeing a new opportunity. So it's completely opportunity driven. So he saw an opportunity where he could take a certain amount of risk that he was prepared to take, and he would then go into that venture, either sell the old venture to finance the new, or take the old venture, put it under management, and then run with the new venture. But he's absolute the type of guy that sees an opportunity. If you go look at Richard Branson, right? Branson has had so many different businesses, anything from record shops through to selling cool drinks, through to airlines, through to gyms, right? So it's a question of seeing an opportunity, grasping the opportunity, and running with it. Yes, maybe you're going to sell the other business because you see, I need the capital. I don't have the capital on hand, so I'm going to go with this. But yeah, so he our dear friend of Dogecoin fame, go have a look at how many businesses he owns. He's got 8 to 10 businesses at the moment. Most of them we don't even hear about. So, but it's a question of serial entrepreneurs identify opportunities, and they don't want to let these opportunities go by. So they start a business and they start exploiting that business. And they're the guys that are really, really entrepreneurial. Okay. So if you look on the screen and you go through those 10 steps, those are the 10 steps of the entrepreneurial process. We've taught this in various forms and various formats in various years on this course to you. So you get a product or service to sell, you do some market research, you do financial projections, you collect a team together. The team helps you to write a business plan. You go to the bank with a business plan. You say to the bank, there's the business plan. You look for somewhere to start working from. It might be the garage. It might be a building that you hire. It might be your parents' garage. You build a prototype, test the prototype, hire people, test the product again. Product works. Do a bit of marketing. Take the product then into the market, launch the product properly. You run the business for a while. You're growing the business. By the same token, you're starting to plan your exit, whether it is to sell the business and move on to something else, or it is to retire one day, but you plan your exit and eventually you leave the business. So this is a nice chronological step-by-step way of going through a business. The problem is this looks great in textbooks. This is not what happens in the real world, right? So this is this process idea of entrepreneurship is an outdated view. And Nick and Murray says, put this aside. This is textbook stuff. Let's look at what the real world does. It's also not the method has got a specific way. This is a process. So in other words, a method, sorry, this is a method, not a process. A process has got specific steps and goes through a specific circular motion. The method it's a way of doing things. And you can see on there's a set of practices, there's phases of learning. So you learn something and you master it, and then there's something new for you to learn and you master that. It's iterative, meaning we do certain things and then we repeat those things and we do it better and better and better as we go along. It's not a linear step-by-step process. It jumps around. You can't really predict what's going to happen, but you need to remain creative throughout it. And it is a Nike thing. Just do it. It's not planning focused, right? It's action focused. You must determine what you're going to do, and you must do it. And as we'll see just now, and if you say, I don't have the resources, you've got to ask yourself, I don't have the resources, but what do I have? And what can I do with what I have? And you do it. You're investing all the time. You're not expecting the return all the time. You're putting effort, whether it's sweat equity or whether it's money, whatever, you're putting that in. And lastly, and we've mentioned this before, it's collaborative, not competitive. Right. So it's not about growing this linear step by step. It's a method of creating opportunities to navigate, because the world isn't linear. The world changes all the time. If you just think at what has happened in the past, in this year in the world is a different place than it was in December last year already. So it's not managerial, it's entrepreneurial thinking. Managers manage. Entrepreneurs work through startups and they work in changing. Managers, the biggest job of a manager is to create stability. The biggest job of an entrepreneur is to navigate instability. And entrepreneurs make profits because the world is unstable. And they seek that instability, and they see how, when that instability is there, how they can address that, how they can profit out of that, what they can do to enter that market because the market is unstable. And that's partly why it's such a risk. There's the managerial versus the entrepreneurial. And you can see managers big planning, because planning means we can keep things stable. Entrepreneurs do actions, just do things, small things. Managers plan and budget, right? And when they've got the budget, they will execute. Entrepreneurs will use what they have. Linear and iterative, we've spoken about that. Managers want to do things at the best possible way. They want optimization. Entrepreneurs just want to do something. So they'll do an experiment. Does it work? It doesn't work, right? Let's do something else until we find something that works. Competitive and collaborative, we've spoken about. Managerial, we know what's going to happen because we've had this happen before and we're going to make it happen again. Entrepreneurs, they go into the unknown and they see what happens and they decide what action they're going to take. They don't see what's happened and then they say, which plan are we going to pull off the shelf now because this happens because we planned as a manager does. No, they look at the unknown and they say, right, what can we do? What can solve this current problem? What can solve what we're faced with now at this moment? And managers plan their actions, sometimes far in advance. Entrepreneurs do. And by doing, they learn. And when they are then faced with a similar situation in the future, they can take an action. But they don't plan every single thing down to this idea that you've been taught about short, medium, and long-term plans, right? It's great for management, and you need to know about it. But that doesn't work for an entrepreneur because they're marching into the unknown. Now, if we're going to say entrepreneurship is a method, it's a practice, what are the things that we do in this practice? And there are 8 components. These are not steps because steps are linear or progressive. These are things that we do within the method, right? The first thing is we must decide what do we want to do in the world. What is the impact that you want to do? So if you ever asked a question about the method, you need to take these components and say, this is what I want to do. And the first one is, what is the impact that you want to make in the world? Why? Is it something you feel strongly about it? Is it something that you've got a great belief in? Is it something that somebody told you about and you're saying, look, yes, I want to take an action about this because I feel this is important. Start with what you have. What do you know? What are you good at? Is there a hobby that you do? Are there friends that you know that can assist you and help you in developing something? What have you learned? So what makes sense for you to try as an entrepreneurial venture? So for example, if I say, okay, I'm going to start a business, I want to do something. What am I going to do? I'm not going to do computer programming because I've never done this before and I'm useless with it. I can work with my hands, so maybe I should try to manufacture something with my hands and sell that, right? So you look at yourself and say, what are the means that I have that I can do something with? Describe your idea. What can you do today with what you have? And describe that. So I can make furniture. I've got tools. I've got the ability, the knowledge. So maybe I should make furniture. And what type of furniture? Unique artisanal furniture. And where am I going to sell this? Well, I'm going to sell it from my house and I will go to the occasional market, not to sell at the market, but to show people the type of products I can get so that people will come to me and commission me to make stuff for them. What is my affordable loss? What loss am I prepared to take? Well, I'm not going to risk the farm on this. So what I'll do is I'm prepared to risk the wood and my time and so on. So what I'm prepared to do is I'm prepared to lose all of that, but I'm not prepared to lose my income. So I'm not going to give up my day job yet. So I will run this mostly over weekends. And if it goes belly up, then I lose the time, I lose the effort, I lose the wood I bought and the effort that I put into shaping that wood. But that's my acceptable risk. My acceptable risk is not to lose my job. Why? Because I'm too old, right? If I was 20 years younger or 30 years younger, I might say, I'm going to risk the farm on this. I'm going to risk everything on this. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, in 3 months' time, I'll find another job to do. Because I'm young and I've got a long life ahead of me, so I'm happy. I'm not young anymore. I'm entering the stage where I'm starting to say, how do I scale down the amount of work that I do? So I'm looking towards retirement. So if this business works, this might be my retirement business. But I'm not going to, at this stage, risk everything I've built up over my life on this one business. So take small actions, just do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the first product I can build, and I'm going to start building that product. And it's not going to be a table with 12 chairs around it. It's probably going to be a small side table or a type of stool or something like that. That's relatively cheap, that I can make easily. I can duplicate it, and I can transport this easily. And I'll make a couple of variations of this, and I can use the scrap wood that I have in my garage, and I can use the tools that I already have on hand, and I'll make 4 or 5 different iterations of it. And where I stay, there's a local market on a Saturday, and I'm going to take those two. I'm going to go speak this weekend. I'm going to go speak to the guys there, and I'm going to ask them, how does it work to get a stall, and what does it cost, and what my product is, and then try to, in about 2 weeks' time, that'll give me enough time after hours to build my first couple of projects. So I'm going to take it there, and that's going to be my first action, to see what it is. And while I'm busy doing this, I'm going to start thinking of what are the other products I can start making. So if I'm going to make a little chair, stool type of thing, I think I'll also need to do a side table or two. And I'll take those products, and I'll initially just test the market with those and see how it goes. Network and enroll others in your journey. So who can I collaborate with? Who can I speak to? Well, I know there's a guy that stays in my town who's a retired woodworking teacher. He used to teach at our local school. And I'm going to go see this guy. And I'm going to ask him for some ideas. He might have plans, stuff they showed children to make when he was teaching at school. And he would also probably know people in the wood industry where he could maybe set me up, and I could get cheaper wood. And I know he probably himself has some wood, and I might be able to buy some cheap wood, which is good quality stuff, off him, so that I can start my journey. Build on what you learn. Keep expanding your idea based on what you have learned. So yes, so obviously, if I go to the market and I see what the people there is, I'll speak to people and I'll ask them, what do they think of the products? Is there something that they think that would sell well? They might tell me chopping boards, for example, something else that's quite easy to make. Or they might say, well, actually, you need to make like proper big chairs that you can sit like in a lounge on, and maybe I'll try one or two of those chairs in the future. But let me first see how this goes, and that brings me to the last one there. Reflect and be honest with yourself. Is it going to work? Am I able to make a little bit of money of this, or is this just going to be a hobby? Or am I just making stuff, and I'm making more and more stuff? I'm investing more time, I'm investing more wood, and buying more tools, and it's money going out and nothing's coming in. And it's now getting to the point that I've got a whole garage full of things that I've manufactured, but I'm not selling anything. So this business isn't working. Or am I getting to the point that whatever I can manufacture during the week, I'm selling on the weekend in the markets? So maybe I need to scale this up, and maybe I should get somebody, see if I can't find a guy that was a matric last year and can't find a job that had woodwork, and I can let him do some of the steps while I'm at work. So instead of me making one chair or one side table a week, he can do the cutting and the work. And when I get home in the evenings, I take what he's cut out and so on, and I put them together. And tomorrow he can sand those, and tomorrow night I will varnish those, and we rinse and repeat. And by the weekend, I can take 10 items to the market. And maybe, if I'm honest with myself, and I think this can really work, maybe this guy that was in matric that's working for me now can go to the other market in the next village, and I will sell in this market and he will sell this market. Now we're starting to expand. And now I can start saying this is working, but it might also go the other side. Okay, guys, ask me your questions. I hope that was entertaining, and I hope the example worked for you, that you sort of could see how this entrepreneurial method, how it plays out, and how it is not a step-by-step linear process, but it is a method that we're following. It is things, and I'm jumping backwards and forwards and redesigning and redoing things as I'm going through the process. Guys, please ask me your questions. Give me some feedback. Did that work for you? Did it not work for you? I'm just about ready to end the session, but first I want to hear from you. Kevin says, excellent plan, sir. Thank you. Thanks, Kevin. Kind words from your side. Anybody else, if you want to open your mic and speak, please do. Great, thanks, Lee. Okay, just a couple of other admin things, guys. This has been recorded in theory. If I pushed the right button, I believe I have. And what I'll do is I will download this. This will then be uploaded onto a YouTube channel, and I will send out the links for the YouTube channel. I will send out the links, and I'll have a little sheet. I normally place a sheet, or I used to also always on Learn. I'll do this on Arc as well. I'll place a little sheet on Arc that gives you all the links to each of the chats that I've done. So you can just click on that and listen to it again if you want to. Guys, if there's no further questions, please, as I said, there's my email address again. Those of you that only got into the room later, please take a note of my email address. And yeah, drop me a mail if you want to. And in the meanwhile, look at your emails. I'll send out emails every so often to let you know what we're going to do and where we're going. Okay, guys, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks so much,
Have a good
sir.
week. Pleasure. But please, guys, hit the books, eh? Okay, cheers, guys.